Welcome everyone to another Timer Tip Tuesday, but this one's a little different today. We're going to be really introducing, a whole new set of technologies for our race day, and race day real time is what we're calling it. But it involves multiple pieces of the platform. So we're just going to give everybody just another minute or so to join, and then we'll get started at 12:01. So thank you for joining us. Should be a pretty well attended session today. Okay. All right. So again, thank you again for attending another Timer Tip Tuesday with the RaceDay suite. Today we're completely dedicated towards a new offering that we're bringing out into the market, and we call it RaceDay Real Time. And it's an integration between RaceDay scoring and RaceJoy, and we're bringing chip timing back to RaceJoy. So before I get started, I just want to kind of tell a little bit of an origin story here. So when RaceJoy was initially created 11 years ago, this is actually where we started. We worked with a lot of timing companies around, especially in the Southeast and some out West. And we started with everything that you're going to be seeing here today. We worked with big events like Glass City Marathon, the Donna Marathon, Ogden Marathon, some big events. Space Coast is a really good start for us. But over time, we realized that what you're going to see today is really the way this needs to be distributed. It needed to be distributed through timers, and timers having complete control over the technology and being able to offer it as part of their services. So what you're going to see today is how this evolution has come forward, because now, when I've been working with RunSignup now for about 7 years, we built RaceDay Scoring. So RaceDay Scoring is this platform, a middleware platform that allows us to really get chip data and stream it to multiple destinations. And so today you're going to be seeing how we're using this platform and enabling you to now provide for a complete event experience in RaceJoy that includes your chip timing and chip timing data. So again, thank you for joining us. There's a questions panel. If you haven't been in a webinar before, you can ask questions. We'll probably queue up those questions. We have a lot of material to cover. This will be a very in-depth show and tell exactly everything you need to do to use this technology from start to finish. So it'll be a little bit long of a session, but we'll be breaking this up into different videos and stuff that will be used as part of our training. So again, just kind of queue up your questions and we'll handle those at the end as we get there. But hopefully, if I do a good job of going through everything from A to Z, most of your questions will get answered during the course of this hour. So again, the agenda today is really to talk about the types of tracking that are offered now as part of our platform. We're going to be looking at the setup from step 1 to step 4 of how you set this up using both RaceJoy and RaceDay Scoring and how that configuration works. It's a very simple setup. Actually, I think we've had some early users that came out of the RunSignup University with us, and they have commented how easy it was to get everything working for them. We're going to be looking at how the participant and spectator experience changes in RaceJoy, and what that looks like in terms of for participants and spectators and how the app changes. And then finally, we'll be looking at just how we're approaching the market with this, what our approaches from a development point of view, and also beta and just different things that we're doing with the market. And then finally, we really want to cover, again, based upon 11 years of experience and also just experience from people on staff like Soren and other people that have really lived in this world for a long time, just what we want to recommend as best practices and what are the common issues that you're going to have as you start to implement this type of technology for your events. So we'll kind of cover some of that best practices and common issues. So let me turn my camera off. Okay, so yes, we have this thing we call a real-time platform, and RunSignup has been really working to build out this platform for timers and make it really something that you understand and how you can pick and choose your services. So each timing organization is going to be different in terms of the technology, the processes, and what they want to do. And what we want to make available to you is a set of tools, and you get to choose which tools you want to plug in for certain events, what tools you may want to use from our technologies, and then what are the tools you want to integrate with your current tooling. Today's session is going to focus on the delivery of chip timing alerts, what we call bib tracking, and also official results in an app called RaceJoy. And so you have an app experience for your events where they actually have an event and everything can be configured and tailored to that event. And then for participants and spectators, they can really interact and get not only their bib tracking, but also their results and everything in the app, and making it a really nice experience for them. So in order to do that, we're going to be integrating with what we call our RaceDay scoring tool, and using that with an integrated part of the platform with RaceJoy. So we're kind of really focused on that, getting the chip equipment data into RaceDay scoring and then delivering it out through RaceJoy. So there's two types of tracking that we're going to be talking about today. What we call, and I'll be using the word bib tracking. So bib tracking is just based on the equipment and the reads, the RFID reads that they go over and sending out alerts that give you pace, estimated finish time, when they are expected to be in, what their current pace is, what their split pace was in the last interval, and just really being able to dial in and get performance information. But all that performance information is only based upon the equipment that you put out and how much equipment you put out, and it's all what we call bib tracking. The other type of tracking is what RaceJoy also does, is what we call GPS tracking. So that's based upon people using a phone, carrying their phone, and having actual real-time continuous tracking based upon actual live position. And so we're going to be looking at how these two types of tracking come together in one experience. But most importantly, participants get to choose. They get to opt in. Some people don't want to carry their phone, and they just want to have like their friends and family be able to track them through the bib alerts, and that's totally fine. And then other people want more of a continuous experience where they can actually interact and get cheers and stuff as they go through the course, and that's what we provide also through RaceJoy. So in terms of the bib tracking, what we want to do here is really make for a very simplified experience for for the participants and the spectators, and that's really where the bib tracking kind of really comes. It's very simple, and we're directly streaming the information from the timing equipment through RaceDay scoring and getting that delivered out to participants and spectators in the form of an alert. This was one of our first events on the new platform. It happened a couple weeks ago. This particular person, 5-minute miler, wins the race. He chose not to carry his phone, or maybe he carried his phone, but he didn't want to deal with the tracking or the continuous tracking. But friends and family were able to track him and get those alerts in real time based upon all the timing points that the timer put out during that event. And again, it's a very simple experience for the spectators. They don't have to know about some website somewhere to go sign up for bib text alerts, or have to know about that link. They just know to go into RaceJoy, they can look up the person and then get those push notifications directly as they're doing it. And so as your timing company in your area starts to offer more and more events, friends and family will know, yeah, I just go into RaceJoy, I get my push notifications, and it all just kind of works. And again, for bib tracking, the key thing here, participants don't have to carry their phone. It really just makes it an option for those that don't want to have to carry their phone. And again, the big deal that we're going to talk about a lot today here is, as your organization starts to think about providing this, there's an opportunity here to start thinking about putting out and selling more equipment, but at the same time, there's also a cost involved in terms of you running your organization and deciding that you want to provide for this type of real-time tracking experience, because the more that people are going to be looking at this, they're going to be expecting more information, more performance data. So that really does depend upon how much equipment you can put out and how many alerts that you're going to provide for a given half marathon or marathon. So the key point here, and I want to make this and underscore it multiple times here today, we're actually working with a timing company down in the Southeast right now. They're not RaceDay scoring. They use a different scoring platform. Absolutely fine. They're going to be looking at integrating with this and using this because it's really important to their bigger events to have this type of experience and actually being able to provide this in a very economical way, which is what we're all about here at RunSignup. So you don't have to use RaceDay scoring to score your race. RaceDay scoring, just think of it as a piece of middleware that connects to your equipment, gets the chip passings, and can pass it on to RaceJoy. And what we're going to be showing you today is a very simple way to set that up. So if you're very comfortable in like how you have all your scoring scenarios and how you want to deal with all this and that and other things, continue to do what you want to do. Just run in parallel this system and be able to provide for real-time tracking in an event app and be able to provide that for your events. Again, we hope that as you start to use RaceDay scoring, you're going to see, wow, it's actually come a great long ways in the last 6 years. We provide every single type of scoring for different types of events, and we continue with a lot of development to continue to add a lot of use and capability to RaceDay scoring. So over time, you might see that, hey, this could be a really good tool to use as part of my arsenal. But the main thing is, if you want to deliver an in-app bid tracking experience, you will need to run RaceDay scoring, but again, just as that middleware layer to connect between your timing equipment and RaceJoy. So we're going to go through the configuration. It's a very simple 4-step configuration that we're going to go through today. And this is what you have to do to make all this work for your event. First thing you need to do is actually enable RaceJoy for your event. So if the event's not using RunSignup for registration, that's totally fine. We have certified timers that understand that. You just need to set up the event on the platform and then enable RaceJoy for the event. So I'll be speaking in a minute about this, but you will need to be certified in RaceJoy. You'll have to understand RaceJoy and how that works and how to create events and put events up for RaceJoy, because it all starts from us being able to have that event experience in RaceJoy. After you have the event enabled in RaceJoy, you'll be adding your timing points to the timing configuration, really should say there, in RaceJoy. And so then this is what we're going to map back to RaceDay scoring to what we call a timing location and occurrence pair. So I'm going to use the words right now, but I'm going to get really detailed here so you understand all these words in a minute. And then the fourth thing is just stream during the live event. So it's really kind of a 2-part setup. Get the RaceJoy side set up, come over to RaceDay scoring, do the mapping on the RaceDay scoring side, and then on event day, just make sure the data is streaming. And so we've added this new area called notifications in RaceDay scoring. It's kind of at the bottom of the left bar there. And we're going to continue to build this out. Again, we have 4 developers right now working on RaceDay scoring. Significant investment that we continue to build into this middleware platform. And so we're continuing to really add a lot of functionality. And so this will be an area where you can control everything in terms of notifications, whether or not it's text alerts, whether or not it's RaceJoy. You'll be able to kind of do it all from one place. So step 1 is getting it set up and making it available in RaceJoy. So you will need to be a RaceJoy certified timer. This is how we distribute the technology. Again, if you're RaceJoy certified and the race uses RunSignup for any of the registration, then it's completely free to you. So all the technology that we're talking about today is basically at no charge, as long as the event is using RunSignup for its registration. If a given event, you're doing a marathon, a big marathon or something, and you want to use this technology is not using RunSignup, then it'll be a $750 charge for that event in order to use this. Again, very economical when you look at other comparable products in the marketplace. And again, for our RaceDay scoring piece, again, if you're using other scoring platforms, it's a one-time flat fee for all of our technology. You can use scoring, you can use all of our tools for $199 for any timer in the industry. So again, very economical footprint in order to use our tools. And again, just to underscore, if the event is using RunSignup for registration, there's no charge for RaceJoy. And this comes up with some other apps, some other technologies that they add on, like a per participant cost for this type of technology. There's no extra fees. It's not based on, you could have a 10,000 person event using this technology. Again, there's no extra fees based upon how big the event is. It's really just a matter of whether or not they're using RunSignup and you're RaceJoy certified. So for the certified timers, if you're not certified, this might look a little bit of Greek, this part of the step, but again, we invite you to become RaceJoy certified, and everything I want to be talking about in setting up RaceJoy side of the house will be very understandable. So as we do in our training, we just want to kind of underscore again today, we just need one configuration in RaceJoy for the physical thing that people do. So if they physically run this path or this half marathon, this 10K or 5K, we only need one of those. So you may have lots of different ways that people register or they get involved in that particular physical activity. We just need one of those, and then everything else works for us based on that one configuration. And we do all the mapping, and we handle all the registration and all the different ways that people register and getting all that synced into that one event. We handle all that for you. So all you have to use is what we call our alternate course processing, and just come in and just tell us, oh, this is really this, and just do this mapping as I describe here, and then we'll make sure everything happens on event day for you. So again, just one configuration needed for the physical thing that participants traverse. But there is a caveat to this, and we want to just, again, underscore this, especially as we move into bigger events with chip timing data. Relays and team tracking and team alerts, that is a different configuration for us, and it is actually supported. That's the reason why we're a little bit, took a little bit more time on this, did a lot of extra work to support relay team tracking with the chip timing alerts. We have some big events like Glass City that in Vermont and other big events that use us for their relays. They're really excited about this technology. It really ups the bar in terms of relay team tracking. Now people don't have to carry their phone, and we're auto completing their legs and everything based on timing equipment, put out exchange points. So all that development has been done, and it's a really important thing that we've done here. But so what comes down to RaceJoy, though, we do need you to tell us a different configuration. So even though there's both people are traversing the same physical half marathon, in the case that we're showing you here, we have a different configuration for the team tracking, and we need you to do that second configuration, change that processing type to relay, and then you'll also, again, going back to your RaceJoy training, know to put down where the exchange points are so that we know where those legs end. And so there's additional configuration that's needed for the relay configuration versus just a standard individual run of the half marathon. So we've got it enabled. We've understood that we only need to do it one thing per physical course that they traverse, and we've got all of our kind of different things set up in terms of what they do. Now we're ready to actually do the timing configuration, and this is where we've introduced a change to what you've learned previously, and this is where the start of everything working for bib tracking really comes. It's all in the timing configuration area. So if you're putting the timing equipment out at what we call an official mile location where your signage is, this is mile 2, in this case mile 5, mile 10, mile 11, and or if it's very near to that, and it would make sense to the user that they're passing through mile 2 at this point, we want you to just go ahead and just call that equipment at that timing mile location. So you'll just say mile 2 in this case is where I've got equipment, mile 5 is where I've got equipment, mile 10. So you don't need to add any extra additional GPS points at those locations. We've done all the work for you to make it work for whether or not those people are doing continuous tracking or they're just doing bib tracking. We've done the work for you. We just need you to know that where's your equipment? Is your equipment at an official mile location? Yes, check off timing at this location. Is it at a different location or not? And that's the next step. So if it is not at an official mile location, then you're going to add an additional timing marker. So this video shows that addition. So again, we have a little marker. We have this in our training. Just click on the marker, and when you get to the calculate distance step, just click on the checkbox to say, I want to add that to timing configuration at that location. So you know where you're going to put your equipment. You know that the equipment's going to go at the corner of Charles Street, and you just come in, drop a pin where you know you're going to put the equipment. You're going to go and configure the name, and you can do it there, or you can do it in a second in the timing configuration, and then just calculate the distance to that point and add it to timing configuration, and the rest will be done in the timing configuration area that we're going to show now. So this is when the equipment is not at an official mile position. You will be doing this step of just saying, hey, this is where my equipment is, drop a pin, and make sure to use the option to add to timing configuration. So when you add those additional points, you're going to come into the timing configuration, and it's very important. You'll see that they already have the distance that you used in the calculate, but we have to think about user experience at this point. It's not at mile 2. It's not at mile 10. What is it? And so what we're going to be speaking and what we're going to be sending out in the push notification, you need to think about what you want them to hear and or what you want them to see on their screen if they're just getting push notifications. And so update that what we call a spoken name to be what you want them to actually see in the notification. We've had some big events like the Philadelphia Marathon that actually sold these types of points, and they actually put the name of the sponsor. This is the Mercedes Mile 2. This is the Lexus Mile 10. You can actually just put that word in there also. So again, it's an opportunity for you to up the bar a little bit in terms of these timing equipment points that you're putting out and what you actually want them to say. But it should be telling them something about the distance that they're at. You know, you're at 5K, you're at 10K. So another example would be just, you know, 10K split, 5K split, and that would be something that would be typical that you would want to configure in that spoken name. Another example of this is that you may have one piece of equipment, and that's what we're showing you here, that is physically, because of maybe an out and back, or maybe it's a loop course, where they're physically going through that point multiple times. In RaceJoy, we need to know those two distances. So you will need to add a marker for each distance. And so going back to that previous step, put a marker down for each distance. Even if it's the physically same piece of equipment, you'll just drop a marker saying, okay, this is the 5K point. I'm going to drop a marker at the 10K point and so forth. And you know, maybe it's a 15K. And so and then you would update that spoken name as we show here for the different distances that they cover. So again, you will need to drop multiple points for different distances. So it's all based on the distance. So we need that distance, we need that different spoken name, we need that different notification point, even though you're physically using the same piece of equipment and they're going through multiple occurrences. In a minute, when we come over to RaceDay scoring, you'll see where we handle occurrence and how that works. You don't need to worry about it here on RaceJoy. All you're doing is just telling us the notification name and the distance, and then we'll handle everything else in terms of mapping from your equipment in RaceDay scoring. So another aspect here in terms of you know, setting these push notifications is just again making sure that that spoken name is meaningful. So here I dropped the marker at the 10K point. I'm just coming in and just saying no. It should say 10K split or 10K, something that means something to the user, both in terms of the what's spoken to them and also what goes out in the push notification. And again, just to reiterate, the timing only option is only turned on where you put equipment. So this is for official equipment, RFID locations is where you would put that setting on. If it's not, you just leave everything the way it is. And that would work for those people that are using continuous GPS tracking in between your official points. So it all kind of provides for a seamless experience for those that choose to carry their phone. Again, not everybody has to carry their phone, but for those that do choose, which is a large percentage, they'll have a continuous experience that's intermixed with your official timing points. And so it all kind of seems very seamless to them as they go through the course. So that's it. Get RaceJoy enabled, follow your training, tell us where your timing equipment points are, make sure you put your different distances and get those set up, and then make sure the names that you're sending out in your notifications make sense to you as a user, what you would want to hear, what your race director would want said at that point, and then that's all you have to do on the RaceJoy side. Simple as that. Now we're on to step 3. Come over to RaceDay scoring, and we're setting up our notification mapping in RaceJoy to RaceJoy from RaceDay scoring. And so you'll come in, you'll choose your course, and then you'll just come through and you'll choose what timing location and occurrence goes with that distance of that course at that point. And so this is what we call the mapping of RaceJoy timing points to what we call RaceDay scoring timing location occurrence. And so I'm going to go through a couple more interesting examples of this in the following slides. So let's say we have, that, location that we talked about, which had multiple, one piece of equipment, but they're going through it multiple times. And so we see an example here where we're using occurrence 2. Actually, start finish, really very common example, right? Your start finish is probably going to be, 90% of the time the same, and it's going to be the finish will be the occurrence 2. So you have to tell us that the finish on RaceJoy side, which is at 13.1 or whatever, is actually the second occurrence of the location that you set up in RaceDay scoring. So that'll be a very common thing that you'll be doing. The other would be if you put that equipment out at a 5K, 10K point, and you're telling us the first time through is 5K, second time through is 10K. And so you do the mapping here in the notification area, and you're setting up what that mapping looks like from timing, location, occurrence to distance covered in terms of RaceJoy, and that's what you're setting up here. And you don't need to map extra points. You may have extra things that you're doing in scoring, like announcers, or there may be some special cheat location that you're doing. You really don't want to send out notifications. You don't want people to really know that you're doing these things. You don't need to map those. So you just leave the mapping off, as you see at the bottom here, and don't map them. So only map those things which make sense in terms of participant experience. What would you expect as a participant that would be your experience, what you would expect to hear and or see? Map those things. Things that you wouldn't expect to see or hear as a participant, you wouldn't want to map those things. And that's it for the RaceDay scoring side. So it's pretty much just do your normal thing in terms of scoring, set up your streams, know how to get passings from streams to timing, locations, and occurrences. And you don't really need to score in RaceDay scoring, but you do need to know RaceDay scoring enough to understand how to set up streams, how to set up timing locations, and then you come down to notifications area and being able to set up that mapping. But there is a very important concept as we move into the final step. Now we're on event day, and how do we actually, control as a timer the data going to RaceJoy and how that process works. And we'll be talking a lot about, this event day experience in the following slides today as we go through best practices and common issues. But at the end of the day, you as a timer are in control of, how this all works in terms of, getting the data and when the data flows and so forth. So we have two buttons now that are at the top. One's what we call the RaceJoy button, and then the other one well if you've been using RaceJoy Score is what we call the Reads Collection button. So when you've got everything set up in RaceJoy and you've got everything set up in the notifications area and it's day of the event, just turn on the RaceJoy button. It's going to go yellow, and it'll be yellow, and that's fine. And if you hover over the yellow, you're going to see it saying, hey, we're not sending any data to RaceJoy right now because you don't have an actual start time yet, okay? So until we actually get an actual start time, even if you're collecting reads and data's coming in, we're not going to be sending anything to RaceJoy until we have an actual start time. So the actual start time of that 13.1 or that marathon can be set in a variety of manners. You may be manually setting it from the dashboard. You may be coming into the scored event and manually setting it. You may be more advanced in using, triggers right off of equipment and having different trigger occurrences, know that it's starting different events. It's up to you how you use our platform to get that start time in. But until that start time is in, nothing goes to RaceJoy. So the actual start is triggered and controlled by the fact that you've got a start of the event, and then of course we have data flowing after that. Okay, so that's it. We set up RaceJoy, we set up RaceDay scoring, and then what does it mean in terms of the experience of RaceJoy, and how do you as a timer control the RaceJoy user experience, and what do you need to do on the RaceJoy side, the app side? Well, the answer is there's nothing you need to do other than the fact that you've said that you're going to enable it and you've certified that you did it, and I'll be talking about that in a second. But I just want to take a moment so that you as timers know what you're selling to your race directors and your organizers and letting them know what this experience is all about. So the RaceJoy user experience is really a real-time event app. It provides for your bib tracking alerts. It provides for official results immediately as you're pushing and making those results available. People are able to look at their phone and get their results and look at their certificates and their photos and everything. It's all inside one place, one app, and they can look at it as part of their tracking. If they want to have cheers coming to them, whether or not they run with their phone or not, they can review those cheers and hear those cheers from friends and family, both before the event, after the event. So it makes for a nice experience for them getting messages. And those messages can be custom messages that people create. You can also provide for custom audio experience, which is something that those people that choose to use the phone during the event get a lot of benefit out of, and that's something that you can configure and make for custom audio happening at those different points, whether or not those official points or official bid tagging alert points or other points. But again, that relies on the people actually carrying their phone and using that. And then there's just so much more. I'm not going to go through everything about RaceJoy and this thing, but I just wanted to, again, underline the fact that RaceJoy is a very well-used system. We've been out there for, like I said, 11 years. I think we're over 3.8 million usages, something like, I think, 8,000, almost close to 8,000 events. So it's been tried and true technology. Again, but you know, now we're really up in the ante here in terms of now making it a tool for you as a timer to provide bid tracking alert, you know, experiences also for those that don't carry their phone. So again, 2 types of tracking. This will be their experience. They'll come in, if they come into the app at all. Again, participants don't have to come in. But if they did come in, they're presented with a screen saying, hey, do you want to be phone tracked? No. Yeah, I just want bid tracking alert. I want to look at my phone after the event. I just want to look at my results after the event. I turn that off, not a problem. On all the screens, we have indicators. So it's very clear. And we've had a few events already, haven't had any feedback from users. We had a 3,000 person event. Again, no feedback that they didn't understand. We're trying to make it very clear to the users, like, okay, this person's using phone tracking, this person's only going to have bid tracking, and giving them indications about whether or not things are working or not working and what's on and not off. And we've done this on all the different screens, whether or not they're looking, and there's even other detailed screens that they're looking at. Just try to keep that strong indicator everywhere so that they understand the difference between, you know, continuous GPS tracking and your bid tracking and what this particular person's opted in for. And again, just trying to really make that user experience very simple and easy to understand. But at the end of the day, you as a timer, we're putting all this technology, as I said, in the old days, we would work with just, you know, a certain number of events. But now we've changed the game. We're making RaceDay scoring, the middleware. We're giving you all the technology. We're making it very, very low cost. And we're just giving it to you to distribute. And you are in control about whether or not a given event switches to what's called the bid tracking experience or not. And this button on that notifications button, and we're going to add a little bit more hover text, or you know, maybe even a prompt letting you know that this is the button. But I'm just covering it in the training today. When you click on that I certify, that's when the whole RaceJoy experience changes to what I just showed. Until you do that, we just stay with the standard, you know, GPS tracking only experience. You don't need to worry about it. It all works fine, and you know, you don't need to be concerned about, oh, do I need to do anything different? It's really just here is when you set up that notifications area and you click on this and you say, you know, and you're prompted and you say yes, then that's when everything switches in RaceJoy automatically. You don't need to do anything. Just know that we've taken care of it for you, and we switch the whole experience over into that 2 type of tracking experience, all based on that button there. But we will kind of do things as we described here. As we move in the point of best practices and common issues, as we move to that part of the presentation, we just want you to know, again, based on a lot of experience doing this over the years, you know, we know things go wrong, right? Timing equipment's difficult. It's always hard to keep things streaming and stuff. And what we have to do at the end of the day is we have to communicate to participants and family and friends and spectators what's happening and what you know, so they understand and they're not getting frustrated and, you know, sending you a lot of ugly stuff on Facebook or in the event. And so we've done extra work with this to really communicate to them when we sense conditions. And so some of the conditions might be, you know, things just go completely offline for you on that event and you just decide that you can't do it. You had enabled it, you get to the race site, things go offline, and, you know, we're not going to get data. It could happen. So we want to communicate that to users. And so what we call the red level will happen. And this would be an example where a timer just decided not to actually do the RaceJoy interface at all on race day, or we're actually having GPS people. We have GPS data. We know people are passing points, and we see, you know, we've gotten past 2 of your split points, and we haven't gotten no data. Then we will automatically, you know, kind of go into this red level. So we've done a lot based upon not only what RaceDay scoring says is going on, but also what we're seeing in evidence from people actually moving through the course and passing, through the course based on continuous tracking. And so we have what we call the red advisory level. We just want to let them, warn them that seems like, things are, we've had issues detected. We give them an option to give feedback here. The feedback will go directly to the timing organization, so they'll know. And we try to move that information back to you. And I want to say here, the reason why we're doing this is to protect all the timers. Again, we're moving to a world here now where all the timers are going to be able to use this technology, not just for the big events. This is what we think is a game changer, that you don't have to be an 8,000 person event to provide this type of experience. You can provide this for a 500 person event. But at the end of the day, we need to protect the other timers that are doing it for their 500 person event. And so if we have a lot of the timers that are doing really well and a few that aren't doing so well, we want to move that angst and frustration to you and feedback, and not to our app reviews or to the RaceJoy area where they're going to be giving us bad reviews in the app stores. And so this is one of the things that we want to make very aware to you as timers that we're going to be doing. So a yellow condition is going to be probably much more common, right? We know things go wrong. We'll talk about that today. Some timing point is just not working, and we've got a whole bunch of people going past the next point. We're going to be in a yellow condition. We'll just we're just letting the spectators know, hey, there's something going on with the 10K spot. Just so you know, we are aware. And this is always important to let users know we know, because that lowers the level of frustration. If they know that we know, then they're like, okay, yeah, the system's working. It's telling us there's an issue with this piece of equipment at this point. Then I understand, and I'm going to look for the information at the next point. So again, it's all about being very open and transparent in terms of what's working, what's not working, and putting that into the user's hands as they understand that, and can deal with that information as they're trying to track someone during a marathon. So our development approach for all the RaceDay scoring platforms, we follow an agile model, and it really is about doing incremental development, getting to a certain version, and then beta. We go through beta programs. We've been doing this a lot this year with different products that we've been doing, and then slowly maturing it to a, what we call like a version 5 level, and then kind of just continuing that feedback loop, constant development. So what we wanted to say here today, that our version 1 approach with RaceJoy, and it's very important for you timers that have used other technologies out there to understand this, is that we have continuous tracking. We've been doing that for years. If you see it on a map right now with version 1, that means that someone that's using GPS, and they're going to see their position live, actually where they are, GPS. We are working on algorithms to show things on map for that Dominic person, that 5-minute miler that is not using continuous tracking, but we have 5-6 data points out there, and we can show where we think, pretty much where that person is. And this is we're going pretty deep on this because again, we have the leverage of the platform, and we have, previous performance data that we can look at for that person through their profile. We have, again, based on how much equipment you put out, we can do this is very typical in the industry, just looking at data equipment and just how much equipment, giving it pace. And so again, that's why the big events offer this, because they're putting on equipment every mile, every 2 miles, and they can really provide for that. Again, I want to really stress this. What people are watching in these big marathons and they think it's continuous tracking, it's not continuous tracking. It's just the fact that they put out so much equipment, it makes it seem like that's where that person is. And we want to provide that same level of technology, but we're going to go a little bit deeper with it. Before, in version 2, when we start showing things on the map based on bib tracking, we want to have some other algorithms that can be done, not just based on equipment. Because again, at the end of the day, we think there are going to be events that offer this that may only put out maybe 2 split points, and it's not a lot of data, but yet what can we do to make the experience still work well with the map? So bottom line, version 1, you won't see anything on the map for bib tracking people only. You will only see continuous tracking. And we have a lot of things that we want to look at, previous performance information. We're even talking about trying to capture estimated pace as they come into the event, either on RunSignup or on RaceJoy. Even looking at, fallbacks down to age, gender, type of graded maps. tables and stuff. But again, it all really leverages off of how much equipment's out there. That was always going to give us the best performance information at the moment. And so we'll be always trying to work off of that. So version 1 won't be on the map if it's bib tracking. I did want to just highlight again that we are a Google Maps technology partner. Been that since the beginning, 11 years now. But about a year and a half ago, we went completely offline. So all the map technology and everything is completely resident on the phone. This is very important as you start going into larger events and people are very congested, and you start offering bib tracking at these events, whether or not they're in the phone or not. We want to lower the footprint of the app experience on cell. And so this is a big reason why we did all this development. And so we're not constantly looking at maps and loading imagery like some other apps might be doing. And so we really have lowered the footprint as much as possible in terms of what data needs to be brought down to the phone in order to provide that experience, and just sending out those push notifications as we need. So beta is out. We're out. We're available. We've had some timers already use it that came to our RunSignup University. And what do you need to do as a timer to start using this technology and all? And we invite you to do that. All we would ask, kind of in this, it's kind of this rollout that we're in right now over the next 2 or 3 months, is set up your race, understand the RaceJoy side, understand the RaceDay scoring side that I trained today in the webinar, and then just hit the Get Help button on top of RaceDay scoring and send it in. And somebody from our support team will kind of take a look at it and see if they see anything that they might want to tell you. You will be getting alerts even before that. The minute you enable things in RaceDay scoring, we'll know that you've turned on time integration, and you will be getting links to some content and stuff, kind of best practices that will come right from that. But again, we kind of invite you in the next 2 or 3 months. We're in beta. We're working with key partners to make sure this is really working, and just have us review what you're doing. So just to give a big shout out to some timing partners that have worked with us, I just want to say thank you so much to these companies. They came to our RunSignup University, they saw the technology, they wanted and they were available to us to actually test on events. And I want to say at this point, some companies went all in, big event, right? 3,000 person event. Other companies said, hey, you know what? I want to just start out kind of keeping it within the house equipment, kind of make sure everything's working before I go gangbusters with it. Whatever works for your organization, choose your path. So it's totally up to you how you want to start doing this. It's kind of along that spectrum. I will say things have gone very well. We've had a few little things that we wanted to put guardrails around, which I'm going to talk about in the next few slides. But overall, the technologies have been completely seamless and flawless. Had no issues in a big event. Everything's worked very well, and the timing partners that we work with have been very happy. So the last thing I want to cover today is what we think as timers. If you start thinking about doing real-time bib tracking, things that you need to think about. At the end of the day, you can make more money with this. But at the end of the day, there's also a cost. And that's the one thing I wanted to just really kind of talk about here today, is that, yes, there's money to be had here because we're not charging you for all this technology. You can charge for it. You can make revenue by putting out more equipment and so forth. And you can raise the bar on some of your bigger events. But at the same time, there's things you need to think about in terms of like, how are you going to make sure the technology works well? And some of those things may involve additional overhead for you as a timing organization. So the first one is, really having to understand that we're talking real time here. Real time means real time. Real time does not mean 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late, 2 hours later. Real time means real time. So you have to think about your processes and how you're setting this. We talked about that start time and how that start time cues and triggers when we're going to start anything going out to RaceJoy. So thinking about how you start your race and how you control that start and how you get that start time in, is very important. And you need to think about how tight you can make that so that, you're within 30, 40 seconds at least. We're talking that kind of thing. That data streaming, when people are moving that off that start line, data streaming to RaceJoy. And so thinking about your processes, how you set that start time, whether or not you're comfortable using trigger occurrences on gunshots or not, and just really tightening up how that start works. The next one's very difficult. It's the hardest problem probably of all this, and that is your timing organization. You're putting on so many events every year, and you're really thinking about using this at some event, and you're not really sure about cell coverage for your particular set of SIM cards and how that works. I was working with an event actually over July 4th, and the SIM provider that came, like, it worked kind of, and then it kept going out, and so like literally we had to just like jump over and just tether to Verizon really quick at that point, and just everything worked fine. And so like it's like best plans are that you think your provider is going to be fine, but it doesn't actually work at that location. And so you have to think about, as you move into real time, this is again this overall thought process and process you have to think about is, have you thought about working with your race director or volunteers in that area just to go check out those locations and what the cell service is like where you're planning to put those split points, and just having a verification that you're going to have cell coverage where you're thinking about putting these real-time equipment points. And this really leads to the overhead part. So now we're in the actual event day, and did we plan to have resource assigned to split locations? Maybe it's a resource, like we did an event over on the coast here, and we had one resource just flying around between 2 or 3 points. Like, do you have that kind of capability? Do you have that resource that you can make sure, and they're using tools, communication tools like WhatsApp or whatever you use in your process, that you can quickly communicate that things are good or bad, you're seeing the data, you're not seeing the data. These people are trained to know how to overcome issues, maybe having to tether or hotspot something, and just like that's a different type of resource, and are they going to be able to do that? And that's an overhead cost as you move into real-time tracking that you have to think about whether or not you're willing to take on that or not. And at the end of the day, if you're going to do real-time tracking, this is a problem that you're going to encounter at least as you go through it. And so do you have a plan to overcome it? We see this one also. We put a mat out. It's a pretty wide road. It's real easy for people to just totally skip that. So now all of a sudden you have a point where you should be getting 1,500 passings and you're like getting only 1,000 passings. Like, what happened? That's going to show up in RaceJoy. People are going to be getting like frustrated that they're not getting time alerts, and we do get those support emails where they're like, hey, I didn't get anything, what's going on? It's this person, and all that kind of stuff starts going on. And again, it could just be a simple matter of just, have we thought about how we're marking and queuing and coning to make sure that those real-time points that we spend all that money to do are very easily seen and understood that that's something that they need to go through. At the end of the day, the more splits, the more real-time tracking, the happier participants are going to be. The happier your race director is going to be. It's going to be the big race experience, even though it's a 500-person event. It's going to create more revenue for you and give you greater opportunity to make that race director happy the next year. But yeah, it's things that you need to think about in terms of, are you properly being accommodated for making sure the technology happens. So this really leads into our common issues. This is stuff we see in our own experience. We wanted to share it with you. Start data coming in, like we said, you've got that 5-minute runner out there. If we're not getting start alerts and they're already at mile 1, mile 2, it's not a great race experience. I was talking to someone just this weekend. They went out there, they're watching their daughter take off, and it's like, oh, I just saw her leave, and it's like 6 minutes later, I get an alert. So think about what that means to that user. We're living in a world today where we're on our phones. The phones are so resonant, and we're saying to ourselves, wow, this app doesn't really work very well, because like it took 6 minutes for me to just get told, I just saw her run away. Like, what's going on? So again, you're in control of that, and that's why we talk about best practices of keeping that tight control, because again, you have users, you have family and friends that are at that start, watching them leave on that marathon, and you want to make that experience really positive for them. If you're at an event and the race director is tracking certain people, you want that race director to feel like, wow, this technology really works, it's timely, it's happening. I just got the alert for people that I'm tracking that I know that I need to keep an eye on because they're always winning our races and stuff. Second common issue, stuff goes wrong every time, every event. It's the life of a timer, right? Your cell service isn't working, your middleware is crapping out on you, you've got power issues that you didn't know that you're going to have. You got a weather issue, like now, do I have the right protection on my equipment? Am I dealing with that? And so all of a sudden now equipment's taken offline and it's not streaming for real time. What's your plan for handling that? And have you thought through like how you're going to handle that in a real-time world? Because in a real-time world, if you've lost 2 split points, they're going to be getting those yellow advisories. They're going to be told stuff's not working, and that's going to reflect on you as a timer. So again, as a timer, before you start offering this technology, you have to think about making sure that you want to be known that you do a good job for this, and you've handled this and you've thought about these problems, and therefore next year the timer is really well set to work with that event. Handling time sync issues. Again, if you're having a problem getting GPS signal to get your time set correctly, if that resource doesn't know how to manually set that time correctly, remember, real-time data is coming directly from that piece of equipment, straight through RaceDay scoring as a middleware, right out as a push notification. So if the data is wrong, it's going to look really weird, and spectators are going to be like, well, that's really weird. I mean, it's saying it's an hour difference and or whatever, and something's like totally like, I'm getting alert that, you know, they're going to be done in 2 days or whatever. And so it's just really changes the participant experience. As a timer, you've learned how to fix all this in results. You've learned how to deal with it after the fact. When you go to real time, it's real time. There's no second chances. That push notification went out, the data's out, it's done. So you have to think about these issues and making sure that you've thought through, making sure that you're set up for making sure all the equipment is set and synced and set on the right time. Is the course path correct? We run into this all the time with RaceJoy. We've been doing this for 10 years. Things happen on race day, and we train our timers like, just go move the points. Don't worry about the path. Just get the points where they're going to be, because at the end of the day, you know, we're based upon those points. And so remember, you're offering this for both bib tracking and also GPS. And so there's 2 types of people out there. There are those people that want continuous tracking, and so we want to make sure that experience is good. Yes, if we didn't have that and they just had some bib alerts, and the bib alerts are going to go out as push notifications, it doesn't affect anything. But the problem is it affected all that percentage of people that wanted continuous tracking. So making sure that's right. Is it okay, you had equipment issues, to do the data late or even later, 2 hours later? The answer to this question is yes, we always want the data, because when we go to the participant experience, we're going to look at that. We're going to make sure the splits are out there. It's like result data to us. What we've had to do, and this is one of the first guardrails we put up just this last 2 weeks as we've gone through the betas with these timers, is that we've protected the push notifications. So this is something that we've done. We will never send out a push notifications for old data. Okay, so just so you know that we protected the participant experience from that. They will only get the last alert that's timely. Okay, so we've done work on our side. So yeah, just we know as timers things go wrong. Just stream the data when you get it. We'll take care of the rest for you is the bottom line, and we'll do everything we can in RaceJoy to make the data available to them for later viewing, and make the push notifications only matter if it's timely and it means something, and turn off push notifications if it's not timely. And then finally, you know, thinking through, do you really have the right people to deal with equipment issues or unforeseen location changes and stuff? Like, things happen. Having a plan B and thinking about what you're going to do if equipment goes down, and or if you have to like take a piece of equipment offline, and what you can do. And so you can, you know, definitely turn things off in RaceJoy. That's fine. But, you know, maybe you have a plan that could try to do something short of that and, you know, get things back online. So a lot of information in 54 minutes. So we're gonna kind of turn this part now over to questions, and hopefully, you know, any good questions, Michael or Soren, that we want to kind of get out to everybody. Let's go there now. And I have the capability of doing some live stuff if we need to.
We had an initial question, James, about whether or not RaceJoy, you know, timers charge for RaceJoy.
Yeah, so, you know, the answer to that is we don't really know. We ask this question a lot in our survey. We do an end of year timer survey, and you know, and we also ask it anytime we're at like the RunSignup University and stuff. I think what I get is the sense is that probably the majority of the times it's part of a service package that they're using to win the event, and they aren't really charging RaceJoy because it was just this GPS thing. They just had to set up a map. It's kind of low bandwidth for them. We really feel, and this is something that our different people in the company have really thought through a lot about this, is that the game is changing now. With this is when the game actually changes for you as timers, because now you're having to do work. You're having to put equipment out. You're having to handle resource issues and sims and so forth, that you will now be charging for RaceJoy and making money. And so, you know, whatever you're charging for your equipment, you already got that kind of figured out in your budgets and all. Now you can start saying, hey, I'm now providing this event experience with bib tracking, and there's an extra fee. And so we definitely feel like this is probably when a lot of those timers that are just giving RaceJoy away for free right now, because it's kind of part of their service package, is going to change, and now it's going to become more about a split package, and then it also includes bib tracking.
And just to elaborate further, we typically suggest that timers charge $750 for RaceJoy. So we do know that that's kind of on average for like a marathon.
Yep.
You know, in smaller events they charge less. We also have people exploring from the perspective of the new bib tracking, is that you could position it as, I will charge you for these additional timing points on the course and charge for that. So it's actually a way to get money from that point and say RaceJoy is free on top of that. But you're charging for those extra timing points and the people to support them.
But we want to say, this is really important. Again, we're not going to use names here today, but if you go out and do a comparative analysis for other you know, technologies that are doing this right now and what they're charging, there's definitely opportunity for you. Again, maybe it's for the bigger events, but you can definitely, you know, talking thousands of dollars for this type of technology, thousands and thousands of dollars for, you know, marathons and stuff that, you know, is on the table. And so working through and figuring out what that looks for you as a timing organization, as Shelley said, you kind of have the equipment costs already figured out, but now you're providing for this app experience with that data, and it's all being provided in one experience. And so thinking about that and size of event, and you know, think about what other companies are charging out there for that experience, and that's something that you should be talking to your timer partners about. A lot of you guys have great timer networks. Talk to them about what they've seen out there. As we said, a lot of these other systems are charging not only a fee for the setup and everything that you're doing, but also a per participant fee. And so, you know, now you can really think about that, what that cost looks like, and then providing a very economical way to do this using the RaceDay real-time platform. Yeah, so thank you, Julie, for that question. Really important. We've done all the work. I talked about relay, triathlon. Yeah, we did a lot of work for that too. So yeah, this is definitely available for triathlon. One of the things I didn't put in the slides today, and this is again why we want to kind of make sure you're submitting your first ones with us and stuff, is you know, traditional RaceJoy training about triathlon was just put your bike and your run. Don't worry about the swim. Okay, but now that changes with your chip timing. Okay, so if you are putting out starts that are actually based on when they swim and when they start to swim, and that's an official timing point that you're doing, then you're going to want to have that in there. And so you're going to be wanting to start adding that swim segment to your mapping so that you can get that timing configuration in. This is a swim in, this is a swim out, this is, you know, all those different timing points that you're putting, and you would want to just do it just same that you're doing in RaceDay scoring and setting up those different timing points on the map, and then everything else will work. So yeah, definitely triathlon, just all you got to do is just set up the different segments based on the pace, and it all works.
James, we had a question about when is this expected to release? That they had that they saw that it's for beta, but when is it going to be available for full use?
It's available now, as we said in the training. Just we invite anybody to use this. Just submit your, get it all set up in RaceJoy, get it set up in RaceDay scoring. Before you turn on that button to, you know, certify that you want to change the RaceJoy experience, submit your Get Help ticket. Support will review it and just let you know, yep, you're good to go. You know, you didn't think about this. Yeah.
And really,
we just want to keep the beta label on this probably for another 2 months, 3 months. It's kind of what we're thinking internally.
And that's more so that you can kind of guide them through it. So it's more kind of an escorted experience, right? That's for the beta time.
The other point is that every time an organization has to choose, do they want to just kind of use it for a test event? We talked about that in our support meeting. Again, if you just want to do a test event, we've shown you how to do that with RaceJoy. You just create a RaceJoy test event, set up your timing equipment, and just be a test event. Or you can just use it for a small race that you're just kind of keeping it more internal in terms of what you're doing, and not using it for a big marathon. So it's really up to you as an organization to figure out how you want to do that. And the RaceJoy certification, was that answered?
Yeah, but they wanted to understand, how do you get RaceJoy certified?
Yeah, so again, just send in a ticket to info@racejoy.com asking to be certified. There's a questionnaire that the support team sends back to you, and then based upon that, we get you into an online class, and it's all done online, and you can get certified to be a certified RaceJoy partner. Any other questions? Okay, that was a good question that Billy asked. Yeah, very important. So the trigger is the start, and that kind of starts the data flowing. Yes, sometimes things happen and you need to adjust that start time. And so how does that all work with our technology and everything? It's important to understand. So the first reads that go, and we'll be saying that, and if we see somebody had started, we're just going to send their chip read. So it has nothing to do with that actual gun time. The reason why the gun time is important for us is, one, it makes us know that you're definitely ready for data to go to RaceJoy. So that was the trigger that we chose. But if for some reason we don't get a chip start read for that person, okay, and now you've got a timing split point at 5K, we need that start time, okay? So you gave a scenario like, oh, I screwed up, I had the wrong trigger or whatever, everybody took off and I fixed it. It's fine. That's gonna keep updating on our side. It's just, we're gonna keep updating our start time based upon whatever you last put in. So when that person hits the 5K point that missed their chip start, now they're gonna be relative to that new gun time. So just understand, just keep doing what you're doing today, scoring, keep updating your start times to make them most correct. And but it really is about us missing a chip start read, the reason why we need that. If you're thinking about data and performance, why do we need the actual value to be right? It's because we may miss a chip start, and I have somebody at a 5K point, I got to figure out what their pace was and their estimated finish and all that, and I have to have a starting point. So hopefully that answers that question.
Hey James, just one quick thing from me. For those that are going to be testing this out and playing around with it early on, go through the RaceJoy setup like James said, and then go through the RaceDay scoring setup. You don't have to hit the certify button on the RaceDay scoring side. Just go ahead and map all your RaceJoy course points to your locations, hit save from RaceDay scoring, and then from there you can select the get help. So you don't have to certify everything, you don't have to make anything live yet. You can just do the RaceJoy setup, the RaceDay scoring setup, hit save on the RaceDay scoring side, and then from there you can use the get help and send in a ticket, and we can take a look at it, kind of review everything with you.
It's really important to understand this slide and just keep reiterating what Kevin's saying. You're in control of when the experience changes in the app, and it's based upon that. So if you're not ready for the app experience to change, just don't do that. Michael or Soren, is there anything else we need to make more social with everybody? I just looking briefly, but is there anything that jumps out at you that we should probably talk about?
It'd be kind of good to clarify the difference between the notifications tab on the left and the notifications section on the top bar of RaceDay scoring.
Okay, great. Yeah. So yeah, the notifications at the top is literally just everything that we didn't put in a toast message to you. It could be all kinds of errors or issues or just warnings, and it's just, think about that as just being like your warning area in RaceDay scoring. It has nothing to do with text notifications or push notifications. So the new notifications area for setting up notifications through RaceJoy, and then as I said, we'll start adding in the text alert configuration down there also. Like we recently added result set management. Hopefully people that are using RaceDay scoring have checked that out. It's really cool. You can completely manage all your result sets and team result sets and everything right now from within RaceDay scoring. You have to actually go to the dashboard to do it. You can delete them. You can change who the email is and all that. And so we're moving notifications control now into RaceDay scoring. So you can control not only RaceJoy notifications, but even like other things with notifications and what you want to have happen all in that area. So that's, we're using the word notifications for that, but the top one is really more about, call it a warning area. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else, Michael or Soren?
The only thing I thought is to really reiterate that GPS tracking is always available, is going to be always there, even whether or not they do the timing alerts. But they can't just do timing alerts, so they need to do their maps and everything, just like all those that have already been trained on RaceJoy. It's the same as before. But they need to make sure their maps are all loaded right.
Yep. And again, at the end of the day, we will get the Dominics of the world that refuse to run with their phone, and we all know how important that is, showing on a map and giving good estimated position on the map. But that's a version 2 consideration. We wanted to get this out and get it really mature and stable before we start adding on that next layer of estimated positions on a map. So right now, if it's on a map, it's real. But we'll be changing the icons. One of the things we're doing as timers, you'll care about this, is like where you have official timing points on the map will actually show a different kind of icon, and that this is an official point timing versus just a non-timing point. So we're working on the designs right now for this next layer of mapping, and so it'll be not only showing differences about timing locations, but also the difference between someone that's continuously being tracked versus someone that's just being bid tracked. Great. So it's an hour. Hopefully everybody got a lot out of this. Again, our support team is available. Soren, as you've hopefully most of you starting to get introduced to him, he along with Avery is available for doing training on RaceDay scoring. So he's on the calendar. If you want to just like jump into RaceDay scoring, you're a timer that's using some other type of scoring thing, you just want to understand enough to do this. There's a download it, get it on, and there's a calendar under Get Help, and you can get on his calendar, and he's available to you as an engineer to help you learn just different parts of the system. So Soren is another part of our whole offering that really helps you learn and about our technologies. So he's part of our staff that really helps that happen. Great. Thank you, everyone, again for attending our Timer Tip Tuesday, and we'll see you next time. Bye.